Soul Productions present Street Topics, and you don't want to get caught slipping. You don't know what topics they're going to serve you, from current events to politics, for topics that they don't even want to talk about. From old
You
school
know, when we run out
remedies.
of medicine, grandma have our remedies. But I'm not gonna lie. One remedy that I wish I could remember exactly what she had, but she mixed them together. And when by the time I got through with that, I must have been the most drunk. I felt drunk. I know I didn't understand what drunk, but now I look back.
Heated topics causing disagreements.
Negative because that's what all of y'all like. It's just very heavy and negative.
Well,
So
you
we're
need to go
all
get
saying
on
have
another
emotional
show.
conversations when we're just bashing each other.
On another show. We ain't negative, woman, girl.
No matter how heated the conversation may get, these gentlemen always come back together with solutions.
Better than this. You got to learn how to respect each other, respect each other's differences. You know, we're not supposed to all think.
What up, what's up, everyone? It's another episode of Street Topics where we keep it live, raw, and much more. It's your boy C Holmes, as always, on Street Topics, and we have a little controversy with the U.S. Supreme Court dropping some new movements that I'm pretty sure some people, a group of people, you are petty as hell. Like he was ready for this. I haven't even introduced you.
Thank you.
And we have the one and only Just Sim, as he already riled up about this.
What is going on, people? We finally have some people that are sitting on the seat with some common sense. I'm happy.
Oh, we can tell you are one happy fella over there with all this thing going on. But before you know what? Tell us why you were happy, and then we'll go into the video clip so we can go and break this down for this short segment.
Man, just roll with the video clip, and then we can talk about it.
You can't wait for this. You like, just roll the clip. All right, let's go ahead and share the screen and pull it up for them. You got the Supreme Court. What the Supreme Court talking about, y'all? Breaking news.
We are following breaking news from the Supreme Court.
The justices are allowing the Trump administration to move forward with its ban on transgender people from serving in the military, pending an appeal.
NBC News legal analyst Danny Savalos joins us now. Danny, we just got this decision, so I know you're probably still reading through it, but this is nuanced a little bit. But for this moment, the Supreme Court is saying you can go ahead with your ban.
Exactly right. And this wasn't much of a surprise because almost the same thing happened back, you may remember, in 2018 during the first Trump administration. District courts tried to enjoin the administration from their ban back then, and the Supreme Court essentially overturned that. So not a big surprise that the Supreme Court has allowed this case to go forward and allowed the Trump administration to continue their proposed ban.
So then what comes next, right? Because this is just sort of allowing the stay while it's all in process.
Exactly. So as is often the case with the Trump administration, we're dealing with stays and then appeals of the stays and the stay of that stay and then stay on top of a stay. And it takes a long time to actually get to the merits. So all that happens now is that the Trump administration is allowed to go forward with the ban until this case is decided on the merits. It will likely go next up to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals over on the West Coast. And then from there, almost certainly, as with many of these Trump administration issues, it will land at the Supreme Court.
But just the reality of this, what does it mean for someone who may be transgender serving right now in one of the armed forces? Does that mean that right now they could be asked to leave?
Depending on how the military is administering that, then yes. I mean, that's the whole point of seeking the stay. You're saying, hey, this is something that could cause immediate harm to people in the military right now. However, the Trump administration decides to administrate that, yes, they may be out of a job.
Yes.
Danny Savalos for us with that breaking news. Danny, thank you.
You were not holding back at all. You was over here already clapping in the background.
Yes.
You're like, yes.
As them sisters in the church would say, thank you, Jesus. Thank you.
Petty as hell. So we know that you are definitely vocal when it comes down to this. And tell the audience why this pretty much bring you joy. And then I'm gonna read like another news article pretty soon and bring on the screen. But like, why are you so satisfied with this whole movement?
Because this is one of many things that has weakened our military forces. This is one of the things that has caused a division in the military. We are already kind of divided in certain things regarding racism that still takes place in the military, but they just use it in a different way. They hide behind positions, rank, and all of that. But this right here, it eliminates and it makes the military, the United States military, it makes us a joke when it comes to other countries. Other countries look at our military as a joke and don't take us serious. That is why the United States is looked at right now as you are not worth a pot to piss in and a window to throw it out of, as what the
Not a
old
pot
folks say in
piss.
the hood, because you have problems mentally, not knowing whether you want to be a male or a female, but technically you are a male with your DNA,
Oh man.
your chromosomes. You are a female with your DNA, your chromosome. It's just the way you think and how you feel, or whichever one is your problem.
So, in your defense, you're saying that the people who do this surgery, especially in the military, have actual mental issues that you think,
Yes.
and you think that is going to affect their way of combat or how they can serve this country.
Yes. I would not, as a combat veteran, I would not be in no damn foxhole with someone and they don't know whether or not they want to be a male or a female. If they don't understand who and what they are, then how in the hell you gonna know what you need to do to watch my back? Or are you watching my ass and not my back?
You, so you're trying to tell me this person's going to be more focused on what is going on behind it, actually what in front in the actual war zone?
Of course. Of course. Why do you think for so long females were not allowed to be in combat?
Oh,
Because
you
they
know
were a
you're gonna anger
distraction.
some people with that one.
Because they were our distraction. And the reason why females were a distraction and for a long time they wasn't in the combat for a man. The man's nature is what? A protector. Yes or
Yeah,
no?
I
So
mean,
if a
yeah.
man's nature is a protector, I don't care what anyone says. I don't care what a woman says or female says. A man's nature, a good man, a real man, not a weak man, is to protect. And if he sees a female in distress and he's in combat, he's willing to give up his integrity because that female is going to somehow connect him mentally and emotionally to his mother, his grandmother, his sister, his niece, his aunt, all of that. This is the reason why. And some females might say that, oh, that's weak. No, that's not weak. That's the reality. Do you want a weak man to call himself to protect you? When you
But you
go in
know that's a,
combat,
you
when you
know,
go into combat, and I've been in one, when you go to combat, you cannot have anything that something like that on your brain because you will get killed or the person that you're supposed to be watching out for will get killed. It is a distraction because you have to start going when you go into combat. The idea is simple. You have to come to a point in your life, as most of us combat veterans who have served in combat, not on the streets of Texas, not on the streets in New York, not on the streets in Colorado, which is a joke, not the streets in
you're here showing,
California,
you're shooting haymakers out there
in
now.
combat, you have to come to a point where you have to accept death in your life and you would not be able to see your family anymore. So to be able to accept that, you have to not be distracted.
Man, that's heavy. You basically screaming out loud and clear that this person's sexual needs and much more is going to get into war combat and it's going to put everybody else in danger.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay,
That's
so
what's going on. So you're more worried about if you want to wear a dress in uniform, or you want to wear pants in a uniform if you're a female, and you more worried about pronouns versus Your butt needs to be trying to figure out who you are so you can protect this country and not be distracted or not cause a distraction to someone else.
Now, I'm gonna try. Like, I'm pulling up this article pretty soon so I can show. But on the other side, they said there has been many of transgenders, and I'm hitting both sides because I know how people like to be. Hey, you bash y'all didn't match them up. They have stated that transgenders have faithfully served and deserve every right to serve this country and for their sacrifice, and they have contributed to the military of the United States. What would you say with that? As I try to pull up this article real quick.
Well, I don't doubt that. I don't doubt it. But when it was no ass no tell, it was better. But you going out a dude dressing like a woman in a military uniform, that's a disrespect to the uniform, and that is a disrespect to the country. That's a disrespect to the American founders. That's a disrespect to the flag. That's a disrespect to the people who died in the past, Korean War, World War I, World War II, and any other wars in the past the United States have been in. That is a complete disrespect, and I don't like it.
So basically, they're just shitting on what so many have put their lives on for anything else.
Exactly. Because in fact, let's let's people want to say transgender and then want to be is not a mental disorder. It is a mental disorder. The problem is
Uh,
simple. The problem is simple. How do you
you better make people
define
heated over here.
how do you define, right? How do you really truly define a mental disorder or a mental problem, right? How does one find that? How you define it?
It's just someone that's acting off.
Huh?
It's not that I'm keeping it simple. Someone's acting off or crazy with no sense.
A mental health issue or disorder or or condition refers to a wide range of psychological and behavior patterns that cause significant distress. So what's distress that's in their life that they feel that they want to go from a man to a woman and woman to a man? Impairment in functioning or increased risk of suffering. So what kind of suffering are they? The suffering they're dealing with is the fact that they distress, and the distress is because they don't want to accept who and what they are. But these conditions, as it's defined, these conditions affect mood, thinking, and behavior and can interfere with daily life. So if they have this issue, even though psychiatrists don't want to say that this is a mental disorder, which it is based on the definition of mental disorder that I just looked up and I just read directly, that defines a mental disorder, right? So if that is the case of a person not knowing who and what they are because of their identity, then why do they say or classify bipolar as disorder? That's basically almost the same thing. Only difference is you're not acting out in the manner of a somebody that's bipolar. They
Yeah.
just so why you want to make one thing and one in the other, but then the foundation is the same. See, it's a game to please the ABC community, but right is right, wrong is wrong. The truth is, it's a mental disorder,
So
and
you
the
basically
military.
your strong argument is like nobody who's basically transgender who don't have a complete understanding or don't accept who they are should not be in the military because they pose a danger to the not only the country but themselves and comrades in combat.
Oh, of course, and it makes us look weak. No other military force in the world has and doing what the United States military has done when Biden was in office and when Obama was in office. And the only reason why Obama did what he did because he needed the ABC community vote so he can become president. That was it.
All right, okay. So what are some of the things that the other countries are saying? I'm curious. Like I know you're in the military. I mean you're OG in it. What are some of the things that they're saying out their own mouth?
Out of their own mouth, just what I've been saying. They look at us as being weak. and they look at it as a problem within our own country. So if we have a mental issue in our own country as such, how can any country respect the United States? This is why Trump is having a hard time in certain things in trying to get countries to do certain things. Hell, if you be honest with yourself, everybody in the United States got mental disorder, one way or
Yeah.
the other.
We know
So
we
let's
all
be
throw it
real.
up, throw it out to a
So
certain extent.
so let's just be real. Everybody in the United States got mental disorder. Just some people are worse than others. And the ABC community that thinks transgender is not a mental disorder and a psychiatrist that says that it is not, then they are a hypocrite because they are saying they are defining mental disorder, but then they don't want to label it as a mental disorder for them, but they want to label it for someone, as I mentioned earlier, as someone who has bipolar or borderline
Cause,
borderline bipolar.
cause there's
They
money in
they
it.
they don't know who and what they are. You still gonna be prescribing medication, and not only that, most of them join the military because not for the country. They don't join for
Financial.
the country. You know what they join for? Because of Biden. You know what they joined for? They joined to get the military to pay for a surgery.
That's why I said financial.
And I'm telling you, and those that are listening, those that are watching, you have to excuse me. I'm real passionate because when you have seen what I've seen and gone through what I've gone through, you will be just as passionate as well. This is when Biden. It, let me give you some food for thought. Okay,
Go ahead, shoot it.
from 2016 through 2023, a total spending on transgender surgeries by the DoD, right? And I'm gonna tell you that from 2016 to 2019, that was up on the Obama era in his policy. 2019 to 2021, Trump banned it, but then in 2021, Biden reinstated it. Okay, now let's look at these other numbers. In Obama's policy, the Pentagon reported in 2017 that 15 genders or transgenders or however they want to be labeled is a he and she's a she is the way I'm gonna say it. Got received surgery that will perform on active duty personnel costing
Active.
personnel $137,716, which is an average of $9,180 per surgery.
Woo! That is not cheap.
2018, 1,892 transgender soldiers received surgery. Do you know how much the DoD spent out of their budget that could have been used for additional training, for additional employees, for additional TDYs, temporary duty assignment, or for an additional equipment? They spent between 2.4 to $8.4 million annually.
Man, you just firing and you're paying, you're punching them. You just hitting them up.
So you spending money on this nonsense, and then this is another reason why Trump is coming along and saying y'all are wasting money. That's all it is. It's wasting money.
Holy.
This is what's going on that people don't pull and see,
All right,
right?
so I'm gonna pull this article. So like, I basically don't know what it's gonna say, but I'm just gonna like pretty much raw comments on it. This is like MSN. So yeah, I'm kind of skim over as fast as I can. But we have this. The Supreme Court said Tuesday that the Trump administration can begin immediately enforcing a ban on transgender service members in the military. Of course, we know that was like a high effort. The majority of rulings discriminated three. Oh, the three liberal justices publicly dissented from decisions, but also did not explain their positions. Huh. During the president's first term, the High Court permitted Trump to enforce a similar yet slightly more permissive ban on trans service members. That prohibit was later reversed by President Joe Biden. That kind of piggybacked what you were talking about earlier when you mentioned Joe Biden. Correct.
Yeah, Joe Biden wasn't running nothing, but other than his mouth, if he ever remembered what needed to be stated or what it needed to be said, and it's not a secret. And see what the people don't understand in this situation is this.
So, what do you feel, real quick, about this number? We got 14,000 transgender troops serving. Do you think that would do any kind of effect with them basic? Oh, I don't know what they're going to do exactly, but probably being dismissed or honorary discharged or something like that.
They're gonna ask them to leave, like they did with the COVID. Hopefully, that's what's gonna happen, and they depart. Because if you notice right now, because of the transgender and the ABC community, we are the weakest military at this current moment. And people don't want to hear the truth, that's fine. But if you go to an episode of In the Trenches, we talked about it. We talked about a recording from a congressman that spoke. When it comes to ground troops, we are weak. When it comes to ground troops, we don't have enough bodies. Why we don't have enough bodies? Because people are not volunteering. And then those that do come in, they
Okay.
still don't know who and what they are. So we are in deep trouble.
All right, so this is what I was trying to find out. I found in this article too. Is I'm gonna hit this part real quick. It said is a devastating blow to transgender service members who have demonstrated their capabilities and committed to our nation's defense. But also the next thing I want to hit on to is you have some people calling this by allowing this discriminatory ban to take effect while our challenge continues. The court has temporarily sanctioned a policy that has nothing to do with military readiness and everything to do with prejudice.
That's
So you
lying.
have. So what will you say to people? Because there are people out there that when they see these kind of things that they think is prejudice. No, they think it's no different from when we as African Americans face prejudice. They think it's on the same playing field.
How's
Like
the
no.
same planet? Did any of your ancestors come on a slave boat beaten? Did any of your ancestors uh
Uh oh.
were killed on the 4th of July is what I call it? Because the 4th of July technically historically is really an independence for white Americans from England. We blacks were still enslaved. Let's be real. So, did your people suffer like that? Did your people walk around with chain around their neck and around their ankles and their hands? Did your people get castrated? Did your women get raped?
I
Did
mean,
the land that was supposed to be yours get taken from the government because of you are black? So that is nowhere close to it. And then your transgender issue is more about sex, not about race.
ooh, of how you feel more than anything. And then I have made that argument multiple times, but I know had different people have different opinions. But on my end, I think, and I'll say it like this: look, I feel like when a person, and again, this is my opinion, feels like the way that they originally were created is at fault or wrong, I feel like you're basically saying like, "Hey God, you effed up when you made me."
Thank you.
And I think I should have the right to
Thank
choose
you.
how I should be born.
I am
That's
glad you said that because I've had this discussion with people and I bring that same point out. I am so happy that you brought this out. How can you say you believe in a God that knows all, that's perfect, that makes everything perfect, but then you tell him you messed up, just like what you just said. I'm not perfect. This is or you have the mindset to say I am better than the next person, and this is what I want to be. You're acting like a little kid throwing a temper tantrum because you're not getting what you want, but you don't even know what's best for yourself. But you want to say you believe in God. And then you have those that believe in God and they go along with the program when
This gotta
even
be
in
good.
scriptures, I don't care how long or how many Bibles you read in the past, they all mostly going to be the same. It's going to say it
You know,
is
people are quick to pull
against
up
that.
scriptures, and I will say this: people like to pull up scriptures and say it in a way out of context that serves best for them. I don't think people are catching on to that. Like you can really twist words in a scripture
You
real
sure
quick
can.
for your own selfish benefits and it get blown out of context. I mean, I have made this statement many times when it comes to relationships, but at the same time, when it comes to this specific topic right here, that is definitely what has been
You
going
know,
on.
the biggest thing that people don't understand when you speak about scriptures is
What you
this.
about to say?
This is simple. Man makes everything so difficult, but God made everything so
So
simple.
simple.
That's why all the animals in the world are a lot smarter than humans. Okay? This is how simple God made it.
And you don't see
I
no
don't
animal trying to
I don't like
act out.
I don't like this is God. I don't like what you're doing and how you're doing. And he labels that as a what? A sin, right? But in scriptures, even though he labels things as a sin, does it have anything in there that says he does not love you? He does not like the sin, which is the action, the thought, the
Right.
behavior.
Okay.
So what people are not understanding is I don't like because it's wrong, but it doesn't mean the person still don't love you. And that's where the other part of the mental issue or the disorder that people not understanding. Just because you want to be like that and I don't agree with it doesn't mean I hate you. It just means just like what God dictates. It's wrong, it's immoral. You all about self and self only. And if you don't believe me, read in the book of Romans and you will find what I'm speaking about.
All right. So I'm going to bring this one because I've seen this in my comments as well, and when I may place this post or like different kind of arguments. Like, what about those individuals who, let's say, are born as a guy but have female features, which has happened before, and they want to have surgery to, I guess, go completely in one gender? Do you feel like those people who have those like both male and female parts have the right to do surgery?
Okay, so you're basically saying if an individual has both male and female parts,
Which has happened scientifically.
yeah, scientifically it happens. I don't disagree. And they want to go what? Either direction or one or the other?
Pretty much, that's what usually happens.
Okay. They have the parts, but you just said a key word, scientifically. So scientifically, what is your chromosomes and your DNA states?
That's going to be a judgment. I'm going off what you're saying. So, like, whatever that your chromosomes say what gender you are is the one you should follow.
Of course.
Okay.
Because then you be doing just like the transgenders. They are male, they want to be a female, and male and female wants to be a male. But then the DNA, which you cannot change the chromosomes, you cannot alter that because that is something God had designed.
Yep.
And people that are transgender want to
Change.
undesign what God has made, and they want to make it seem like it was either against them because they're not getting what they want because of their mental state. And it's not really more of a mental state, it's more of they lack spirituality because they are people that was once gay that had a spiritual awakening with God and they changed their ways.
I don't know how else to put that.
Because there is a gospel singer who admitted. And as I've stated before, even though he was gay and a gospel singer changed, it was a reaction because he was molested. So it's still a mental disorder for people to even think about wanting to do that because something in the past that triggered them to want to go in that direction. It is a mental disorder.
I'm not gonna go in that direction because it's gonna go down the rabbit hole. Because I was about to say, so what about you know what? You know what? Yeah, it does. So what about for the women personnel that's in the military that feel the same way? Who? Because you have women who want to be
Equal opportunity. It goes across the board. Doesn't matter. It goes across the board. Because if you go with scientifically, like what you said, a woman can have a child. A man cannot. A man might think they can. A man might tell themselves they can.
You know, in 2025, they trying their best to make that happen in this crazy world.
But they're trying to make it because man is trying to make themselves God and erase the original God, the only God, out. That's what's going on right now. That is what's going on right now. Because man thinks they're better than our Father that's in heaven.
Trying to pull up.
Think about it. It's not any everything what you're saying and asking it's on the same level as a little kid. When the little kid get in trouble and the parents tell them no, what does a kid do?
Just
They throw tantrums. But also too, when a kid throws a tantrum, what is that relationship? Does that relationship still has ceased between the parent and the child? Does the parent stop loving that child? A real parent. I'm not talking about these show up, fly by night parents. I'm talking about real parents. Do they stop loving their child because they done wrong, or they don't agree with their actions? They don't agree with their thinking because it's completely wrong. It's there's no integrity. There's no moral or anything. Do they stop loving them?
Because that's still your child.
Thank you. So that is not any different than what God is saying and what people should be looking at and saying, hey, I can love you, but I don't agree with you, and I'm not going to put up with it. And I'm drawing a line in the sand, just like God and Christ drew a line in the sand, and until you get your stuff straight, then you stay on that side, and I'm going to stay on this side.
So I'm gonna pull up this clip real quick, and I think this is important to build up because you know, like us as a community, we do impact the future generation, especially when it comes to kids. And I think this is the correct one. And so, how much of an influence, especially promoting on TV networks, and then of course with this thing going to the Supreme Court, is this dramatically impacting the thoughts of our young adults? So I'm going to play this video and we're going to talk about it before we end the show. But I think this is something that we definitely got to be thinking.
Well, before you show that, I want to make a point. What people are not understanding is this. Transgender in the military has costed us in wasting money on surgery because most and majority come in just for the surgery, do their time of the contract, and they get out. And when they get out, guess who has to maintain their hormones or therapy and the mental health services? Because it's a mental health issue. Because it is a disorder. And either they pre or post operative care. Guess who they expect to cover that? The Department of Veteran Affairs.
Yeah.
That is not their job. The Department of Veteran Affairs is for service connected. an injury while in service, not to be covering because you want to, he want to be a she and she want to be a he, and you want to be on hormones and any of that nature. It is not for that. It is if you receive injury from training or anything of that nature that is compensated. Why are you getting compensated? Because you chose that you want to be something that you're not.
All right.
And if you look at it, I know you're about to go, but check this out. Hormone therapy costs for the VA can roughly between $1,500 to $2,500 per veteran annually. So that would make at least around $10 million per year to cover this care.
All right, so before I play clip on, so yeah, our boy Donald Baker said you got liberal parents raising liberal children and liberal world to do liberal things. And his next comment was, this generation of children are trying to raise their parents with liberal ideology. It's a lust for a disorder.
And he's absolutely correct.
It's lust. And then last comment just posted, the American people are tired of our tax dollars supporting those liberal homosexual agendas. We need to stop it.
He is absolutely correct. Thank you, my brother, for supporting me. And happy old fart birthday.
It's our boy's birthday, by the way, so happy birthday. So let's go ahead and roll this clip before I have to close everything out. But yeah, this is very interesting what they talking about, how common this is for kids. So here we go.
I think about how afraid I was to come out as gay when I was younger.
Is it gender reassignment?
Ah, shoot. So let me get it back up. All right, so as I get this clip back up where I had it, so a lot of people don't realize how common it is for this surgery to go on among kids. And I was trying
Kids are too young to decide if they want to have surgery because they are not mature enough, right? And besides that, excuse me, maturity does not cease for a person until they reach the age of 27.
Right.
When you get 27, that's when you start maturing. And that also contradicts the psychiatrist, because how can you have someone that's immature talking about they want to have all these changes and then you allow it, but you, on the other side of the fence, you want to say, well, people are not mature until they turn 27. Well, you still, but there's one thing. You have old fools and you have young fools.
Is it gender reassignment surgery? Is that the correct terminology?
Some people use that. We use gender affirming surgery.
Gender affirming surgery. Is that done in adolescence ever?
So the only surgery that sometimes is considered for adolescents is gender affirming top surgery. So for people who are assigned female at birth and have very extreme chest dysphoria, you can consider surgery to remove chest tissue. Mm-hmm. It's obviously a huge decision, right? The mental health professional would have to be on board, the surgeon would have to be on board, the parents would have to be on board, and you're weighing all the risks of surgery, which is many, against the risks of mental health sequelae these patients might be having. But there are cases where kids are so...
But that's not a common...
It's not routine.
Yeah. Is it gender reassignment surgery?
All right, so I just wanted to show that real quick. So yeah, and then not to mention the risk along having that. So things for people to consider. So but before we close this out, like, what do you feel about with that being stated by basically like professionals?
Just because you have a degree doesn't mean that you have common sense. Just because you have a degree does not mean that you are spiritual to understand what is actually going on. Just because you have a degree doesn't mean you're actually smart. You just remember the materials to get the degree. That's all.
On that note, because he basically about to drop the goddamn mic on this one. All right, so with that said, where can they find you at?
Oh, you can be the one and only. That's him, Data AWSIEM, and of course, my brother, Thinker. Every Friday, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time on In the Trenches podcast on YouTube And you can also hear the audio on Spotify as well as iHeartRadio, Pandora. Check us out. Matter of fact, you can also catch the audio on our website where we have the hottest merchandise there is.
Gotcha. And appreciate the comment as well. Lies is very common, and it doesn't mean they come out happy and all of a sudden, dang man, shake my damn head.
That is absolutely correct.
All right, and as always on Street Topics, we always try to bring in the breaking news. Like this just recently happened with the push of the Supreme Court and much more. But it's your host, C. Holmes, as always, keeping it raw and real.
Your name there.
Yes. He is not going to let me, like anytime I slip up or anything happens, him or Baker is, you know what, that's why we mess with Baker, because he's Tupac daddy. And I'm going to find out. Ain't got no damn sense. Meanwhile, I got to see what the hell's flying around on the stand screen, because I'm like, don't let this motherfucker fly around while I'm live. Yeah, I'm putting, because I was like, hey, this is my shit. But anyway, make sure you like, subscribe, and much more comment. If you have anything else that you want us to hit on these live episodes, just let us know. Controversial, like us or don't like us. I mean, this is all about you. This is the voice of the people. So with that said, just what do you want? You leave them what you want the audience to remember as we close this out. You about to say something stupid? I know you are. Go ahead though.
Don't be a sheep being led to be slaughtered. Don't be a fool, because old fools were young fools. So don't be neither one of them. Read, understand, see the truth, and be the truth. Don't be a puppet.
And that's all we got to say. Catch y'all out next time. Peace.
Peace.